And it looks like there's a threat of some thunderstorms, so we could have some fun activity here.
Nice. Good. Yeah, I was just up there last night. I was having dinner with some friends.
Cool. Cool.
Yep. Okay, so this is recorded, and so I can go back and edit it and do whatever. So, are you ready?
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, well, good afternoon and welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the San Diego Bass Fishing Podcast. Today we have Joe Cargel with us, and he is the president of the Council of Bass Clubs in San Diego. Did I get that right?
That's right, San Diego Council of Bass Clubs.
Okay, right, exactly. And so, welcome, Joe. And where'd you get your start?
Oh man! Well, first I'd like to say, hey, thank you very much for doing this. This is so cool. I love the fact that you're highlighting San Diego fishing, San Diego bass fishing, and what's going on with the lakes. Just real quick, I was driving to work one weekend morning, and frankly, I'm not in the car on the weekends usually that early, and I happened to turn on Let's Talk Hookup, and I recognized your voice. I heard you right away, and I kind of caught you in the middle, and I heard you talking about this, your podcast, and I thought, man, that is so cool. So as I was driving to my work assignment, I got there and I texted my son, and I told him, I said, hey, take a look at the your podcast, and he found some prior ones that were on there, and we talked about it and watched them later that afternoon. So I just think it's really pretty cool that you're doing this, and I applaud you because I think we've got so many great fishermen, some great fishing stories, and I just think San Diego in itself is one of the best fisheries in the nation, and to be able to highlight this is really pretty cool. So.
Yeah, well, obviously, I totally agree with you. I got a soft spot for the San Diego lakes, and
yeah,
and I feel the same way. I think there's a story to be told with the history of San Diego. I'll have to get Jim Brown on here and have him fill us in on the whole largemouth Florida strain largemouth thing. But there was a time and place that this place was. I mean, it was world renowned, and people were coming in from. It was a destination.
Yeah. I mean, I'm born and raised here in San Diego, and for various reasons, maybe thinking about moving out of California, when the time is right. But the first thing I always look up is like, where's going to be some good fishing? Where can I drive from my house in East County and have access to 3 or 4 lakes within an hour drive, and not just small lakes. There's a great excellent lakes to fish at, and you look elsewhere, whether it be in Texas or Florida or somewhere in the Midwest, and a lot of these guys have hour-plus drives. I mean, we're so spoiled here with El Cap, San Vicente, Otay, being our local big lakes. But yeah, it's pretty cool. But so just real quick, you were asking kind of a little bit about me, where how I got started bass fishing. I certainly don't want to bore everybody because I know you've had some fantastic guests on your program, but it's kind of a unique story. I started bass fishing probably like a lot of people with my dad. My dad, was a fisherman all growing up, and some buddies. My dad worked in construction. Some of his buddies got him into bass fishing, and this is in the early '80s. And I was a teenager. My dad asked, of course, if I wanted to join one of the bass clubs with him and fish some tournaments. And of course, I was all in. At the time, my dad and I were fishing out of like a little aluminum bass tracker. And we joined Hidden Valley Bassmasters at the time. And we attended their monthly meetings and fished in their tournaments. And, like most people, upgraded from a little aluminum boat to a 16, 17-foot Ranger. I think at the time we had a 115 on it. We thought we were big time, moving up from a bass tracker to that. Fished with Hidden Valley, and then Road Rangers for a little bit. And at that time, there weren't really a lot of, big bass fishing tournament series like there is now. Is basically you only had the big national stuff, your bass stuff. So local club fishing at the time was the way to go if you wanted to go out and compete with your friends and challenge yourself to go out and try to find some big fish. And so we started doing that in the early '80s and through I'd say like the mid '90s. And then for me, I guess I'll say unfortunately, work and school kind of got in the way, starting a career, finished up college, and I didn't get to bass fish, or at least tournament bass fish, as much as I had wished I could. Like I said, focused on starting a career, starting a family. Still was obviously actively involved in fishing. I fished for fun, got into doing some saltwater fishing, fished some of the Bay Series tournaments, and got into calico bass fishing. And now fast forward, my son, he's 20 now, but as my son was growing up, I want to say he was 7, 8 years old, went off to Lake Jennings and, tied on some night crawlers and a bobber, and he's catching bluegill and trout there like crazy. And now as a young kid, he's hooked. So nice. I love the fact that, my dad got me involved in fishing, and my son got involved in kind of following our footsteps, 3 generations of fishermen from San Diego.
Yeah.
And so my son, like I said, he's 20 now, and he enjoys fishing. He's my fishing partner. So if we fish, obviously our club tournaments that we fish in, and then the El Cajon Ford series, he fishes with me in that as well. Yeah.
So there was one thing that you just mentioned here, and that caught my eye, or caught my ear, was, and this is something that I've been in discussion with other people. And maybe you have a little insight to it, considering that you've been a part of several clubs, a handful of clubs, it sounds like. You're in Double Limit now, you were in Hidden Valley, you were in some of the others. But what the reason thing is that I had, and kind of, I guess I'm just kind of, I don't want to jump the gun on a whole bunch of questions or anything, but there is a decline in club participation.
Yeah.
Like overall, like all the clubs. We used to have 21 clubs in San Diego. We're down to 12, 11, 11 participating in the council. Do you have any idea why that is?
I personally think it's because we have so many other tournament series that are out there. You look at it, you've got, ABA, you've got the El Cajon Ford Day and the Night Series. There's, a handful of other tournament series that are out here. And then we, also have some fishermen that are doing the, FLW, or whatever it was, FLW, or the Major League Fishing stuff. Yeah. And, there's so many tournament series out there that you're right, that I think because of that, it's so hard to compete in all of them. And what's the first one to go? Likely kind of the club tournaments. Yeah. And personally, I think it's a little unfortunate, and you're absolutely right. I was thinking about that, and I've had this discussion with a number of people back in the heyday, if you will. The San Diego Council of Bass Clubs had over 20 clubs that participated in council tournaments, and you're right, we're down to about 11 right now. And for those that listen and watch the podcast, man, I would urge you, if you're interested in getting into some tournament bass fishing, frankly, there's no better thing than these local club tournaments. They're, most of these clubs are very inexpensive to join. The friendship, the camaraderie is awesome. I know my club, Double Limit, we do 2 tournaments at the river each year, generally one in the spring and one in the fall. And what a great time it is. We get together for dinner, usually 2 of the nights that we're down there, storytelling, fish storytelling, talking with the guys. I mean, it's a great time. I know I look forward to those tournaments each year. My son does. I know the other guys in our club do. But even aside from those out of town tournaments, I tell people all the time, if you're interested in joining a club, there are a handful of clubs that participate in the council now that are really looking for members. I know for a fact that Hookers has only got 6 or 7 guys. I think Hidden Valley's down to 6 or 7 members. And even if you don't live in the East County or the North County, you might hit it off and develop some friendships with those guys, and really want to go and fish with them. Typically once a month, and it's like I said, just a great opportunity.
Where can if somebody's interested in joining a club, can they go to the Bass Council website and find the contact information?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up. So they can just, Google San Diego Council of Bass Clubs. It pops up. The Bass Council website's there. One of the guys, Chris Mitchell from North County Bass, is doing a fantastic job keeping our website up. We also have an Instagram page, so you can, send a message that way, but jump on there. the 11 or 12 clubs that are participating are listed on there. There's a little bio form and always has a contact phone number for the clubs that are taking new members on.
Yeah, good. That's awesome. So how many so a little bit about your club. How many tournaments do you guys do a year?
So we do 11. We typically skip December because everybody's busy with the holidays and whatnot. But our club does 11 tournaments for the year, and then we try to finish our last tournament of the year is usually in July, so that way we can establish our top 6 for the top 6 tournament. And for those that are listening and aren't familiar, that's one of the marquee tournaments for the San Diego Council of Bass Clubs. So there's right now, is like you mentioned, is 11 clubs. So the top 6 guys, 66 fishermen, are competing against each other. At least clubs are competing against each other for bragging rights. And what a fantastic time that is. It's coming up in September, the end of September. I believe it's the 21st and 22nd. We'll be fishing this year at El Cap. And like I said, those clubs get to compete for bragging rights. And like I said, it's a great thing to get all the clubs together. Again, once or twice a year we get together and everybody gets a chance to mingle and talk. Typically before you launch the boats, and then of course we have a big barbecue at the end. So that's, like I said, that's one of the other tournament. The other tournament that we have, of course, is the Tournament of Champions that we do each year in March. And the top fishermen out of all those clubs get to compete against each other, also for bragging rights.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, top 6 is a great big deal. We have food. We used to have a raffle. I don't know if you're planning on a raffle this year, but it's just a great big. Really a big get together at the end of the day, and all the families and whatever get to meet each other and this and that. So yeah, it's a great deal.
Yeah.
So you are the president of the Council of Bass, excuse me, for the Bass Council. I'm just going to shorten it to the Bass Council.
Perfect.
What direction do you see the Bass Council going in? Are you going to do maybe night tournaments next year or anything extra?
Yes. So, this year I'll call it like kind of a reorganization year. Really trying to get folks back into volunteering, kind of get back to basics. We certainly set some kind of short-term goals for us, was to kind of get organized again, get volunteers, get our top 6 tournament and our Tournament of Champions tournament, back to being those marquee events like you mentioned. Again, just to kind of touch and highlight that top 6 tournament that we're going to have coming up at El Cap at the end of September. In the past, we used to have these huge raffles, and all of our local shops and some of the big tackle companies, Daiwa, Shimano, used to donate stuff. And then unfortunately, the pandemic hit. Budgets are tight for a lot of these folks, and I certainly understand how and why. But now we're doing great. We've got our clubs back to donating some gift cards and prizes and tackle. We're going to have a really good raffle. And then same thing. We wanted to make sure this past year that we had the Tournament of Champions. It certainly sounded like it was in jeopardy. We weren't going to have it. Our number one goal this year was to have it and make sure that our guys got a chance to compete. This next year, we're going to try to set a goal of putting together a great barbecue with it, another raffle. And I always urge, family and friends to come out for the weigh-in, support, their friends, their family fishermen that are out there. And, like I said, more importantly, come see what's going on. But again, like the long-term goals for the council is we want to try to build membership. We want to try to get those 11 or 12 clubs that we have right now, try to get people to join those clubs again. And I'd love to see it get back up to the 20 or so clubs that we had at one point, not that long ago. And I understand, like we were saying, it's tough because you've got all these other tournament series that we're kind of competing against. But you'll find that most of these local clubs are going to try to work around most of these tournament series. I think a lot of the clubs log into the California Department of Fish and Wildlife website. They try to figure out, hey, when are the big tournament series going to be? What dates they have their tournaments? What lakes are they going to be on? Nobody wants to fish a club tournament, the same day they've got a big, another big tournament series. It's just, tough to find your fishing spots. And getting in for weigh-in. So a lot of these clubs typically work around that if they can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good for the average guy who's not in a club or does tournaments to just look on the website so he knows what club's going to be there.
Yep.
I mean, if or club or two could be there.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have a couple of clubs at the same day, but
yeah,
it works out.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell you, even some of the kayak groups that are out there now, they've got some of the kayak groups are 50 to 60 kayaks out there. And
yeah,
so if you're a small club, yeah, you probably could work around that. But if you got a big club or maybe two club tournaments out there, yeah, you might want to pick another lake.
right. Yeah. Those kayaks, they'll surprise you. Like you show up there and it's all of a sudden you got 70 kayaks. You're way back in line.
Yeah.
You thought you were getting there early and you're 40 kayaks back in line to getting on the lake.
Yep, exactly. And I know that's getting to be really popular as well. So,
but yeah.
Going back to the council, but that is our goal. We would love to get back to doing the night tournaments again, and host a couple of clubs doing the night tournaments if they're interested in doing that. And I know I participated in those a few years ago when we had them, and what a great time that was. And then one of the other things that I don't want people to lose focus of is the advocacy, if you will, of the Bass Council. And I think many of your followers know that we had some struggles dealing with the city of San Diego this past year with their budget. And, one of our main, I'll say goals, if you will, in our bylaws is to, focus on all things for supporting local fishing and our local bass fishing industry. And that was keeping our lakes open. And so I tell people too, it was kind of, I'll say the power of the pen or power of the keyboard. We got everybody involved in sending emails to the city council, the mayor's office. And, I'd certainly like to think that we did make a difference by getting that word out. And that's, something else important that the Bass Council does.
Yeah. I want to mention that to everybody. I was just going to start talking about that, but Joe was one of the few people that showed up to the city council meeting in person to speak to the city council and face to face. And I mean, it was totally appreciated, I think, by everybody at this point because of what we accomplished. And you were an integral part of that. So it was huge. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. Like I said, I was happy to do it. And I understand, people are out working. It's certainly not easy to get to a city council meeting on a weekday at 2:00, but I know we got a lot of retired folks out there. And I would tell them, hey, if you enjoy fishing our lakes and enjoy having the access that we currently have, you got to get involved. The old saying, get your voice heard, or the squeaky wheel, whatever you want to say. I know Dave Seberg was also in, Tom Lowry, obviously very heavily involved in this. They were the ones that brought it to my attention what the bicycle coalition got for the city, all these bike lanes, and took away street parking. And for them, it was just that, flood of phone calls, flood of emails that got them the progress that they wanted with the city. And there's certainly no reason why we can't take that same approach. Yeah.
And now we're seeing the same kind of thing happen with Lake Hodges. The Friends of Lake Hodges are really stepping up. I shouldn't say stepping up. They have stepped up.
Yeah.
And they're in contact with the senators, and they're doing fundraisers. They're doing a great big dinner later on in a couple of weeks, fundraising dinner. It's like $125 a plate or something.
Yeah.
And so they are, what they're doing is, if people don't realize what's going on, is they're moving forward. So they planned on starting construction of the Lake Hodges Dam in like 2031. And they moved that date forward 3 years. I think it's 2029 now is to start construction.
Yeah.
That by putting on the pressure that they're creating. Yeah. So it's really impressive. And one of the things is that what they're doing, what I thought was interesting, because we're all about conservation and we want to save all the lives of birds and this and that. And that's what holds it up is all the lawsuits.
Right.
Is the study of the yellow-legged frog and what it's going to do, what this dam is going to do. Even though, it's going to get built. It's going to get built one way or another.
Right.
They're going that route, but they're saying that with the low water, that has happened with the lake right now, that all this undergrowth is growing up and it's creating this environment, this habitat that the longer that the water is low, the more habitat is created, and once they do raise the dam, that's going to get all destroyed. So
Right.
they're going to destroy all the habitat.
Right.
The longer that they wait. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say it's kind of like the byproduct of it. I mean, we've seen that, most of I'm sure your listeners, your viewers all know, fishing in San Vicente, how they brought that water up. Geez, you've got brush out to 30 feet. And so, I mean, it's the same, eventually when that goes back up, you're going to be, covering up that habitat. And you're right. There's always going to be some sort of, a byproduct or a side issue that's going to come up with that. And to have these folks involved is the key. And I tell people all the time, look, I get it. We're all busy with lives, raising families, working, whatever it might be. But it doesn't take long to, follow these groups on Facebook. Like you said, the Friends of Lake Hodges, the Friends of the San Diego Lakes on Facebook. Follow, again, the Bass Council on Instagram or whatever it might be.
Yep.
We all have a Facebook page. Follow those folks. And when you're on your lunch break or your winding down in the evening, pick up what's going on in the news and get involved, with the local issues, if you will. Because, like I said, we talked about it in the beginning here. What if we just have such a unique fishery here in San Diego that most other counties and cities, big cities around, don't have what we have? And I certainly hate to see it, either be reduced for us or go away.
Yeah. So we've got a whole list of stuff that we're working on with Friends of Lakes now. Gosh, I kind of lost my thought.
I'm all over the place. I'm probably a difficult guest because I'm all over the place.
Oh no, you're great, and it's kind of refreshing to get back to some political talk. Like I've done a couple of fishing podcasts here in the past a couple weeks, and it's nice to get back to what one of the reasons this podcast was created for, and that's the awareness of the San Diego Lakes and its plight.
Yeah. So, Bruce, if you don't mind, I'll talk a little bit about that again on the political side.
Absolutely.
I know we certainly have some friends within the, the water department, public utilities water department, the folks that run the lakes. Brian Norris is one of our representatives that we deal with. Great guy with the city. Will always answer the phone, respond to emails, and you have to understand where they're coming from. He's answering obviously to his boss and the bureaucracy on up the chain through city council and the mayor's office. So those are the people that we want to communicate with, guys like Brian and his team, because they'll keep us informed of what's going on with the lakes. And I tell people all the time, again, kind of going back to the old saying, you can't fight City Hall. That's not true. You really got to get together and strengthen numbers. I know one of the focus that we have is trying to get the road into El Cap repaved. And I know that's scheduled, but again, we band together, try to get our voices heard, maybe be organized about this and see if we can get the city to, move a little bit faster on that. Same thing, that the parking lot at Otay is pretty beat up. I'd love to see that.
Oh man, that thing's really bad. Yeah.
So, as long as our, launch ramps stay in good shape and the docks are, stay in good repair, and we keep the city, hold them accountable, keeping the roads in and out of the lakes. I think, that's something that we can, all work together to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So as far as the road surface goes, if I think I've mentioned it in the past that when we had the meeting with the deputy director of the PUD, Public Utilities Department, who that's the entity that runs the lakes, along with everything else, as far as utilities are concerned. They made mention that the road's going to get done, but they've hired up, they're creating their own road crew right now. And so they're training them how to asphalt roads and how to build roads and whatever. And so when that gets done, that road into El Cap is a part of the whole system of roads at all the city lakes, and they're going to be maintaining all the roads. And another thing is too, El Cap is still, you can see that they're doing it a little bit at a time. You know, they're putting cold patch on there and whatever. So it's not near as bad as it was, say, a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
but it's still not great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
still pretty
remember
bumpy.
that I drive down that road and I worry about my trailer. You know.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Speaking of which, how is that brand new Skeeter of yours, that 2022?
Oh, I tell you what, I love it. You know, it's funny. I wrote some notes to myself, a few things that I wanted to talk about too, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because you know, I'll say for us, and I hope it's okay to do this, but I mean, we have so many
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
great, I'll say, supporters and sponsors. You know, here keeping our fishing community, you know, moving. Like I said, I love my boat, man. I tell you, the folks at Last Chance Performance Marine and Tackle gave me a fantastic deal on that boat. I love it for service. They got a great shop. They're a long ways away from me in the East County, but when I take it up there for service, they'll make arrangements for me to drop it off up in North County. I know our folks at Anglers Marine, El Cajon Ford, some of the guys over at Dark Castle Marine do a great job. So all of those guys are all supporters of the Bass Council. And like I said, I'd love to have the opportunity to give all of them a shout out as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's good to hear. Yeah. I'm trying to get Justin Hanold on here, the Skeeter rep for our area. And maybe one of these days I'll be lucky enough to get put into his busy schedule.
Yeah.
Of winning tournaments. He just won again last weekend.
Oh man, he always shows up in a nice boat. I saw a I don't know if it was on Instagram or something on social media where he was demoing a nice bay boat, and he and some guys, I think Jake Evans, went out to go calico fishing not too long ago. And
right,
what a great job to be able to go demo some of those boats.
Yeah, run down to the islands real quick. Take you 40 minutes to get down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, or in a half hour at that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only 18 miles. Yeah.
That's cool. But, you know, like I said, I kind of going back to some of the, I'll say, local issues and some of the tournament fishermen stuff. I'm curious to see what are your thoughts on forward-facing sonar. Over the last couple of months, we've had some of the members from the Bass Councils asking if we were going to enact or put forth some rules with forward-facing sonar. And
oh, you're kidding.
No, yeah. At the last two meetings, guys were asking if we were going to do tournaments, you know, some tournaments with, some without. And oh my gosh, that's a bag of worms to get into, but I'm just kind of curious.
It is. But you know, you were in the position to maybe do that. I'm all for it. It makes it, I'm not going to say it makes it easier. I'm going to say it adds opportunity to your day.
I agree with you.
Because you can, you know, just because you're going out and looking for fish or looking for fish that are out in the middle, or if you use it for finding rock piles.
Yep.
It increases your opportunity throughout the day of shots that you have at biting fish.
Yeah.
It also increases your opportunity at shots that you have at non-biting fish, and that's what really will catch you off guard with that whole thing, is that how many fish don't bite.
Yeah.
And it really messes with your head the first 2 weeks that you have it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, it's funny. I was telling someone the story. One of the guys that brought it up at our Bass Council meeting last month. You know, he'd been fishing here in San Diego for a long time, 50 plus years. Mm-hmm. And you know, you talk about the local knowledge, if you will. You know, he knows the spots, he knows the patterns for the time of the year, and he's seen the lakes, you know, going up and down. So he knows when the lakes are high, how it fishes, and when the lakes are low, how they fish. Yeah. And I certainly can respect that, you know, that knowledge and that his position on it. But I also, the flip side to it is, just because you have that forward facing sonar, just like you said, doesn't mean that you can make those fish bite. I've absolutely seen it. I mean, my son and I will be up in the front of the boat and watch our drop a bait right down to them, and you can see your bait on there, you can see the fish on there, and they're not interested. So I'm telling another story. I think it was in June of this past year. We went to the river, and a couple of guys in my club. I was laughing because I passed them a few different times at some spots down at the lower river, and they still had their covers on their electronics. They never pulled their covers off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was laughing. I said, "I guess you guys aren't going to be doing any video game fishing." And both of them had pretty good bags. They had good limits, and we caught our fair share of fish that we did not find on using
Yeah.
live. I've got Humminbird Live on my boat, and we caught our fair share of fish that we did not see on live. So you can,
Yeah.
it's fishing's fishing.
Mm-hmm.
You can do well without it, and yes, you're right. It certainly adds some additional opportunities. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Lower River is one of the places that I'll have it turned off for the most part, and it depends on the time of year. If you're in the wintertime at the Lower River, I think it'll play a key factor,
Yeah,
because those fish, they get off the bank and into depressions and whatever, and it helps you find schools of them, and that's really what you're looking for, those schools in the wintertime. But
yeah,
like in the spring and whatever, yeah, it's bank beaten, and a lot of times I turn it off
yeah,
and just go down the bank and hope for the best.
yeah. I tell people too. I said the flip side to that too is just because you have the electronics, you really have to be good at understanding them and knowing what to look for on there.
Oh yeah, I mean, you have 5 different species of fish that show up on it: stripers, carp, catfish,
Yeah,
and giant shad,
yeah,
gizzard shad, and you
yep,
have to just distinguish each one of those, what they are and how they swim, and differentiate if that's a largemouth bass or not. Yeah,
yeah, yep, for
yeah.
sure. But yeah, I think that's one of the hot topics that I think is going to be coming up that folks will have to likely have some discussion that maybe at that club level.
Yeah, if you're prepared with like insurance and whatever to put on a tournament, permits and insurance, so it doesn't affect you too much, that might be a drawing point of a tournament that the Bass Council could to offer. Say
Yeah,
no
so,
electronic tournament, or
yeah,
just a 2D tournament or whatever.
yeah,
Just like a instead of a night tournament, just go no electronics.
yeah. That would be, and that's actually what one of the members proposed, and I thought that'd be kind of interesting.
It would be interesting to see the draw, what kind of a draw it came,
Yeah, I
what
mean,
it
I still
had.
think people do it, because that technology obviously has only been out, if you will, the last few years, and people still caught good fish and still
Yeah,
brought in good bags
yeah.
before that.
I'm sure it would be interesting. You would probably get a lot of support, at least for the first couple of tournaments, because just people are interested to see what would happen. And even the live scoper guys would do that. They
Yep.
want to see. Actually, they probably want to see how they fare against, without it,
Yeah.
without against everybody, and see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would be fun.
So yeah, maybe some way we'll have to, like I said, try to figure out a way to make that happen, and
Hmm.
like I said,
Yeah,
gauge interest with it as well.
yeah. I forgot what they do. Um, because they did that one tournament back east where they didn't allow live scoping, and they had I think they had like a clamp or something that fit over the transducer, so you didn't have to take your transducer off your boat.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions. Someone said, "Hey, well, you could just take them off," and I thought, man, that's a lot of work for some people just to fish a tournament,
Yeah,
taking it off.
I mean, you take the transducer off and then just kind of strap it up or something so it's
Yeah,
out of the water,
if there's a
something
way
like
just to
that.
unplug it and keep
Right.
make sure that everybody is out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Understand
yeah.
we're out there to go have some fun and don't plug that thing back in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You have to have some kind of control over it, some kind of policing.
Yeah,
But I don't think anybody. I mean, I don't think anybody would break the rules in a
yeah,
small tournament like that. It wouldn't be that
right,
big a deal.
right. Not like we're paying out big bucks on it, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But it would be fun. It's a thought. It's a thought.
for sure.
I'd definitely support it.
Yeah, and like I said, there's starting to be a handful of other people that are inquiring about it. So I know
Hmm.
it's definitely a hot topic.
Yeah. Yeah. I know a number of people in our club would be willing to do that. Greg Gardner would be all about it and whatever, even though they have forward facing. Don't get
Yeah,
me wrong. They're not like they're not like totally against it. I think everybody in our club is has an open mind to it. It's just if they can afford it or not, because it's
Right.
still, it's another $1,500 or whatever to $3,000 to put on the front of your boat for a machine.
Yeah.
So it's not cheap.
No, it's just
Yeah.
amazing to me. I look at that now. Yeah, I'm telling my dad retired and moved to Florida, and he hasn't seen the forward-facing sonar yet.
Hmm.
He has a little bass tracker that he's in over there, and I was trying to describe it to him. I've taken a couple of photos on my phone to show him,
Hmm.
and he's laughing because he's reminded me back in our days, like I mentioned, starting off in a little bass tracker where we had the flasher, our flasher
Yeah.
depth finder,
Yeah.
and of course paper graphs back then.
Yeah.
And we were laughing about how far technology has advanced, and it's crazy to think how good that forward-facing sonar and the return rate, so you'll see that fish literally swimming in the
Yeah.
bushes or swimming out in the open. Just crazy.
Hmm.
That's the one
Hmm.
thing too, is we're never going to be able to stop technology. It's just
No,
getting better and
we
better.
won't. Yeah, it'll only get better. And even if they do, ban it in some of the bigger tournaments like the MLF or whatever, there's some talk and this and that. But even if they do, it's not going away. Like the general public has seen it and see what kind of advantages it has for it. So it's always going to be on people's boats.
Yeah.
It always will. Even if they don't fish tournaments, they're going to have it on their boats.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's always going to be there, and it's always going to be improving. So you're going to have to embrace it one time or another.
Exactly.
Everybody was okay with a paper graph finally. It was expensive, but they were okay with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
And it's funny, like like you said, talking about the progression of technology, talking about the side scan and down scan and how that became. And I know there's certainly people out there, a lot of local guys that really know how to use their electronics good. But for me, it took me a long time to understand what the hell I was looking at with side scan. It just
oh yeah,
it just didn't visually line up for my brain correctly until I
yeah.
kind of started getting an understanding of it. But there's a lot of people out there that are really good with their electronics and understanding how to adjust it, sensitivity wise, and know what they're looking at when they see something.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you, I've probably driven over, some great spots and great some fish sitting there when I've not understanding what I was looking at in my side scan or down scan.
Oh yeah, undoubtedly. I mean, it takes some practice. It does. Just trying to interpret the images and whatever. I mean, granted, you can see a rock pile down there, but you don't exactly know where the fish are or what the fish look like and how they're positioned. They could be on the other side of the rock in the shadow.
Yeah.
Something like that. You always have to hit it from several different directions. Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. So, all right, man. Well, anything else you'd like to add? I mean, this is good. We got like 40 minutes in and we're doing great.
Again, like I said, I guess just as we kind of wrap up here,
Yeah.
that I can't urge folks enough. If you're a recreational bass fisherman and you're interested in doing, dabbling in some tournaments and going out to see how you stack up with some other folks here. I know, again, when I kind of got back into tournament fishing, I go out and, fish at the same time some of these guys were out there, and I'd come see them at their weigh in, and I'd look at their bags, and I thought, man, these guys are pretty good. And I, ask what they're catching them on. And I'm still, I'll say a little bit of a traditionalist. I love fishing a Texas rig worm. I love fishing a spinner bait, I'll say some of the old school stuff, and love fishing topwater. But like I said, I like seeing how I stack up with some of these other guys that are out there. And we've got some really good fishermen in San Diego. And like I said, just telling people, if you're a recreational fisherman, you want to get into doing some tournament stuff, go to the San Diego Council of Bass Clubs website. Look up some of the clubs for the area that you live. And again, even if you don't live in that area and they're looking for some members, join in. It's really inexpensive and it's a blast. So you get together, once a month to go fish and kind of test your skills, if you will, against some of these other people. And it's funny. I was telling a friend of mine. They say, "Hey, does it get problematic trying to fish?" As much as I do, with some of the other things that we do, and go out and go, fun fish, if you will, too. And I said the one thing about joining the local clubs is, I get it. You're busy. You got a house to take care of. You might be into another hobby or another sport, but you get guaranteed to go out once a month and connect with some folks, share some information. You'll get to be a better fisherman and you'll learn your lakes. And like I said, you can't go wrong. It's a blast to compete.
Yeah. There's no better way, no way of faster learning let's see, how was it? You there was no way of it's God, if you want to learn how to bass fish, the fastest way of going about it is to go fish in a tournament. And
Oh,
the easiest tournaments to get into are in a club.
yep. And
Yeah.
you're not talking. You're not typically fishing for a bunch of money. So
Yeah. Yeah.
the guys are always willing to share the information about how they're catching fish, and
Mm.
not just at the end of the day when you pull up next to the guys at your club. You're asking them, "Hey, how's it going? How are you doing today?" They'll let you know, "Hey, I've caught 3 or 4. Great. What are you catching them on?" And guys will share that information.
Mhm.
That's the nice thing about being in these small local clubs. We're not fishing for thousands of dollars. You're not fishing for a living, and guys will share that information, and it will absolutely help you become a better fisherman.
Yeah. 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 It's a huge learning experience. I love my club, and I wouldn't change anything different. I'm not there's there's no plans for ever leaving the club at this point. I don't see it ever happening. Um, and just because of the social aspect, I like getting together. And it's funny because you mentioned that they share a lot. People share a lot in the clubs and whatever, but then they don't at the same time. They're still pretty
Oh, yeah.
secretive.
Yeah, there's some guys that'll tell you, they'll kind of keep it generic. I'm catching them on the bottom. All right.
Right. Yeah, on plastics.
Yeah, right.
That's
What'd you
not the
catch them
most you're
on?
gonna get out.
I got them worming. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
at least you know that you can put away your top rod or rod.
Right. Yeah, yeah. At least it'll send you in that direction. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny, but yeah, like I said, a good group of people, and when I do the monthly meetings, and speaking of that too, if you're ever interested to come learn more about it, we do the monthly Bass Council meetings. They're the first Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. at the El Cajon Ford dealership. We're on the second floor boardroom that they have. You're welcome to attend. It's always open to the public. And if you want to come and meet me, meet some of the other club presidents and club representatives, and we can certainly steer you the right way if you're interested in joining the club.
So what time does that take place?
6 p.m. first Wednesday of the month.
So that would be on the 7th
That's right.
of
Yep,
this month. Yeah.
that's correct.
All right, cool. Let's see here. Okay. That's it.
Great.
That's all I got for you. And thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. I love the direction that the Bass Council is going in. It needed this boost, and thank you for being there and supplying that and getting it going again.
Yep, no problem. Like I said, I'm happy to do it. I'm always looking for volunteers to help out, but do my best to keep it moving forward. And I was joking again to use the Trump phrase. I'm going to try to make the Bass Council great again.
That's good for me. I'm not going to get political, but I'll agree with you on that.
All right.
Okay, talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Take care. Thanks for having me on.